Welcome back to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. Several counties in New Jersey are under quarantine because of this, the spotted lanternfly. Doug O'Malley, Executive Director of Environment New Jersey, tells us what this all means. As always, thanks for joining us today. The topic of the season right now is the spotted lanternfly. What exactly does it mean that 8 counties are quarantined? What does that mean for people living there?
Sure. So just a quick explanation, Larry. If folks aren't familiar with the spotted lanternfly, just in case you've been in your house for the last 18 months, essentially the spotted lanternfly is a small bug, about 1 inch of size. It now is a striking color because it's red with black specks. And we're seeing them everywhere across the state. They're starting to fly. They're especially on trees, and they're bad news. And so the reason why we see this quarantine in some of the state's western counties, hugging the Delaware River for the most part, is because those counties have some of the highest concentrations of the spotted lanternfly. And so whether you're in Salem or Gloucester or Camden or Burlington or up to Mercer and Hunter and Warren and even Somerset, a little inland, those counties have some of the highest numbers of spotted lanternflies, and the Department of Agriculture has put in place a quarantine. And specifically what that means is that the bugs are not going to pay attention to that, but spotted lanternflies, unfortunately, are hitchhikers. They first came to this country in 2014. They're an invasive species. They're originally from China and India and Vietnam. And we first saw them in New Jersey in 2018. And over the course of the last 3 years, they've spread nearly everywhere across the state. And that's because they're hitchhikers. And so this might be a little counterintuitive because we're used to seeing spotted lanternflies on trees, but they will attach themselves to cars or really any other vehicle, especially on the kind of undercarriage. And that's how they're being transported across the state. So, really what the Department of Agriculture is saying is, look, you can still travel, but make sure that you're not bringing spotted lanternflies with you if you're traveling through these counties. And that's especially true if you're transporting plants or landscaping materials.
Yeah, that was incredibly detailed, but I think maybe we should talk about why they're so hated, what they do, what kind of damage they can do.
Yeah, so I mean, this really is the summer of the bad bug, right? We have the cicadas, we have an increase of ticks, out in the Pacific Northwest. We have the murder hornets. The reason why spotted lanternflies are probably the most visible threat is because not only they're an invasive species, not only are they kind of taking over, but they're really bad news for a wide variety of plant species, especially our trees and especially grapevines. The best way to think of a spotted lanternfly is essentially it's a vampire for trees with wings, because when you see those infestations, and they can get into the thousands on some trees, they are literally sucking the sap out of trees. They're weakening the trees, and certainly for grapevines, they're making those trees and grapevines much less likely to be able to make it through the winter and to be able to survive. So that's why we don't just kind of want to just throw our hands up in the air. This really is a threat to our ecology.
And they're difficult to kill, right?
Yeah, no, anyone who's kind of tried to kill them, right? Sometimes you get them right on the first try, but they're mobile, they're fast. Obviously, we encourage everyone to do their part and try to squish as many spotted lanternflies as possible. But especially for larger infestations, it's harder to squash 1,000 spotted lanternflies. And so, they are, they're not, it's not like it's 1 or 2 and we're done. Right. So that's part of the reason we have an infestation on our hands. And it's not just New Jersey. We've seen spotted lanternflies spread all across New England and the Mid-Atlantic, and even starting to get out to the Midwest.
Are they working on anything? I know that everybody, you go online and you can see all these articles on how to kill a spotted lanternfly, and then they're talking about putting tape on trees. They're talking about different pesticides. It seems like nothing works, and if something did work, we probably wouldn't have this problem anymore. Do you know of anything they're doing right now? Or do you know something that works aside from just squishing them?
Exactly. Yeah. So the question is, other than having a massive squish patrol, what actually works to, what actually works to keep their population low and ultimately get rid of it? And honestly, we're still in the process of figuring out how to fully control the population. But the Department of Agriculture has been working on this for 3 years, and so they have recommended a certain number of naturally occurring pesticides like neem oil, which actually comes from a neem tree and can be bought over the counter. That actually is, because it's naturally occurring, it's good, it's okay for the environment, and it is effective. The traps, that does work. That requires a kind of a high degree of work to make that happen. I think the most promising work we've seen is through the Department of Agriculture. They worked on a suppression effort that just last year on more than 20,000 acres and across 600 properties in the quarantine counties. So obviously that suppression effort doesn't get rid of them, but we are seeing less of them because of that. And in this year's New Jersey state budget, more than $500,000 was allocated to help the Department of Ag to control the infestation that we're seeing. So, the best way to kind of think of the work that they're doing is to kind of think of how you basically can treat trees so that they become less of a tasty target for the spotted lanternfly. That unfortunately that takes time and it takes money, but we don't just want to leave it up to the good nature of our residents to squash as many spotted lanternflies as they can. Partially because we can't squash all of them; they're too high in the trees. We're not going to be able to get all of them. We need to have kind of an all hands on deck approach that includes pre-treatment.
Well, you are an encyclopedia when it comes to wildlife in New Jersey and the environment in New Jersey. Thanks so much for sharing the information with us.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Larry. And I guess my final thought is nothing feels better than squishing one of these bugs. So definitely.
You've said that. I'm starting to worry about you. You going outside now?
Yeah, exactly. Get my fly swatter ready.
Doug O'Malley, Executive Director, Environment New Jersey. Still to come on Jersey Matters.
I'm Phil Anderson. Coming up on Jersey Matters, we'll tell you why some Garden State parents are not happy with Governor Murphy's mask mandate for their school children.